Welcome back, and in this video I want to do something a little different. I want to talk about my morning routine and how I go about trying to find the best stocks to trade, what I want to see, some of the things that I do leading up to market open, from watching some people that I follow on Twitter to some pre-market prep shows. And then after that, I'm going to end the video by doing a trade recap from February 1st. I took 2 trades, one on NVAX, one on Tesla, and made $1,126. So I am a big fan of having a routine coming into the trading day each morning. Obviously, everybody's is going to be very different, but you have to do something and create a routine that you like, so that way you can be prepared every single day. For me, it's very important to do the same things each morning because I've noticed that when I do that on a consistent basis, prior to market open, I'm prepared and mentally ready. And preparation as an active trader is very important. When I'm ready to go, I know the levels, I know the names that I want to watch, I'm able to execute quickly. And as a scalper myself, fast execution is crucial. That can be the difference between being profitable and not. So now let's get into some of the things that I do each morning to be prepared, and then the trade recap. All right, so it's Monday, February 1st. Can't believe January's over. So I get up at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm out of Salt Lake City, so it's mountain time. So the market opens at 7:30 my time. So it gives me about 2 hours to wake up, make a cup of coffee, just go through kind of what's going on, and then be able to try to get everything together. And the first thing I do when I wake up is I go on my Twitter and I follow this guy right here, Scott Redler. I've been following him for a little bit, and he puts together these great morning videos about what he sees in the market. He's been trading for 20 plus years, so he's a veteran. He's very experienced, been through a lot, right? Been trading through the tech bubble, trading through 2008. So it's always good to just get a perspective of somebody else who has more experience. And then I like to get a quick look at the futures, not only look at the US markets, but what are some of the other markets doing. So just going over, looking at Europe, had a decent session. Looking at Asia, had a decent session. The US is up, so just have a guide of what everything is doing collectively overall. And then I go over to YouTube, I go to Benzinga, and I watch the Benzinga pre-market prep show. This is by far my favorite pre-market show. These guys just go over a lot of stocks that are in play, what's currently going on, kind of the theme of things recently, and then the stock market as a whole. These guys have a ton of trading experience, and they also bring guests on the show that have experience as well from all different aspects. So it's really good to just listen. Another way for me to be able to get dialed in for the day. So those are some of the things that I do more from a social media perspective, just being able to take in news and figure out what's going on. And then the next thing is obviously to dig into the charts. And as you can see on the top left, this is my main group of names that I usually end up trading every single day. And then the group on the bottom is stocks that look like there's more of a possible breakout and more of a secondary list. There's a lot on this list. I usually do not have that many. And even if the list is big, it doesn't mean that I'm trading these every day. It's more for when they set up and they look good. So sometimes I'll put them on there, and even if they don't look fantastic, I'll keep them there just in case if a week, 2 weeks, a month out, they end up setting up for more of a breakout setup. And then I like to start top down from SPY just to see where everything is on the daily chart. And just to run through it right now, if you look, that prior day on SPY, that was a pretty big down day. Held the 50-day, but still clearly showed that sellers took control that day. SPY's been on a big run, so it looked like it was due for a pullback. This is a bit of a pullback. Does it lead to something bigger? I have absolutely no idea. But now just trying to get the sentiment and see what could possibly happen. Now, sellers clearly took control the day prior. We are gapping up. Anytime the day before was a big sell-off day and we gap up, sometimes I notice it can be a little choppy because there is a battle between buyers and sellers to try to figure out which way this market is going to eventually go. So SPY is obviously gapping up, but it's coming right into a lot of resistance. So that's going to be tough. So in order for me to feel like this has more upside room, it's going to have to clear prior day's high because that was a big candle. So if there's anybody short, in order for this to start to reverse, they got to be stuck on the wrong side. So some of the levels that I'm going to be looking at today is prior day's high, 376.67. And then in order for this to not become worse, I think it's got to hold prior day's low. So 368.27. Now that's a big range, so I can tell already that there is a chance that it could be choppy. And similar with QQQ, lost the 9 EMA, lost the 20 SMA. It actually looks like there's some room down to the 50 SMA. Now it doesn't have to do anything, but just knowing that it is gapping up into some overhead resistance similar to SPY. So I would think in order for this to continue to stay relatively strong and possibly the next leg up, it's got to hold prior day's low. So 312.76 is a big area. And then if it can get back above prior day's high, 320.72, maybe it takes a day or two to start building around that for the next leg up. So that's what I see on the SPY and QQQ, always starting with those first to kind of get a gauge of the market as a whole. And then I start to go through all my other names and just seeing that a lot of these daily charts are messy. So I really like clean daily charts where it's very clear areas of either breaking down or breaking out. And when a lot of names are right in the middle of the range, that's where I can sometimes get in trouble. So just trying to find clean daily charts, and if they're not super clean, then that means that I got to size down a little bit and not push it. So Amazon's in a bit of a range. It is gapping up today, and it is above the 9 EMA. So if it can hold that, maybe it gets going again. It does have earnings around the corner, so we'll see. Looking at Tesla, gapping up into some resistance right around 820. Netflix looks a little ugly. And same thing with a lot of these other names, right? Had a handful of days of selling off, and now it's just about whether or not can they find some support, and can we eventually turn that around, or is this going to lead to something bigger? But right now, being in the middle of the range, it's hard to tell exactly what it's going to do. BYD looks like it has a possible downside gap to fill. AMD, not that clean. MU gapped up, looked kind of whatever. JPM, Goldman Sachs, everything just looks similar. And when charts aren't screaming to me that this looks like exactly what they could possibly do, the market is up as a whole, everything is trading near pre-market highs, I'm already on the defense mode. Now to just look at the secondary list. Now looks good for a possible all-time high break, but this still needs some time. CRM looks all right. Been consolidating for a handful of days on the 30-minute, starting to get tight. If it gets above that 230 area, maybe it can fill the upside gap, but the market also has to be strong as well. If the market starts to fall apart, the last thing that I want to do is be long this CRM because I think it's going to come in as well. And a chart that looked pretty good was this NVAX. Nice day one move the day prior on Friday. The only thing that I don't love about it is it already took out prior day's high. I really would have loved if this had consolidated just prior to that, and then at the open consolidated for a handful of minutes and then broke the prior day high. Doesn't mean that it can't get going further now. I just really like to wait for those levels to break because a lot of times that's where the most aggressive reaction can happen, and then that's what I like to take advantage of. This HOLX looks all right. Had a very nice day one move. Came up to this prior area of resistance, got just above it, rejected a little bit, but if this can clear that 82 area, looks like maybe this has a chance. And this IPOE looks okay. I know that this is Chamath's SPAC, and with all the craziness in Robinhood lately, he did mention that he's trying to bring a competitor, SoFi, to the market through his SPAC. So got a very nice day one move on that news, and prior day's high is 26.97, so if it can break that, maybe there's a little bit of upside room. It's definitely not a stock that I trade often, so I'm not too familiar with it. So I always make sure to be careful when I'm trading stocks that I'm not familiar with, but still looks okay on the daily. So I actually just saw this JMIA, and this looks pretty good. Handful of days of consolidation, kind of this prior high pivot area, 62.38. Some topping tails on those candles, so people were obviously trying to sell into that to keep it from going higher. If it can break above that, and it's close to all-time high, 65.50, this looks like this could possibly get going. So I know that I'm going to be watching this JMIA. I'll watch Tesla just because it's one of my favorite stocks to trade. IPOE, NVAX, and then maybe put up a market leader like Apple just to get a gauge of what's going on when the market opens. And I'm going to be marking prior day's high, prior day's low, pre-market high, pre-market low, and then I'm going to watch all of them as a group to see if any of them have relative strength, relative weakness, and then see if there's any sort of patterns that I always talk about, opening range breaks, or flag patterns around those technical levels that I got from the daily chart. So the first trade is going to be on NVAX. It did do a bit of a 1 minute opening range break off the open, but it was a little spready and I didn't want to take it that quick. So I had the nice strong push, pulled back a bit. It's consolidating above the 9, above the VWAP, and it's approaching high a day. I want to take the break of high a day, getting tight at 258. So I end up going long right there, 200 shares, trading a little smaller. This is very volatile. I don't want to get crazy. Filled at 257.98 and got a very quick move. So now I don't want to let this go red. Pushed up to 260. It did pull in a little bit, but I was still in the money and I just want to see if it can get there again and what happens. Right there. Tape started to speed up, popped almost instantly 2 points. Nicely in the money now. So any weakness that I see, I just want to get out of this trade. Starts to show some weakness right there. Pulling in and I end up just getting out right there and making $436 on that quick scout. It was fast. I was in the trade for just under 1 minute, but I got a little over 2 points, so I'm going to take that every single time. And here's the Tesla trade, and it actually did do a opening range break off the open. 2 1-minute candles closed red, third 1 minute candle broke the high and had a very nice move, but I just wanted to see what it was going to do, so I left it alone. Started to show some weakness, put in a lower high, lost VWAP, broke low a day, and now this is starting to look like a flag pattern. Could have had a better entry right around 805, so letting it bounce, and then the moment it shows some weakness, especially after rejecting the 9, that would be a good spot to go short, but I just kind of hesitated and missed it. So now what I'm really hoping for is some sort of green candle in there to create a real tight flag pattern right above low of day. But I'm trading smaller just in case if it doesn't give me that setup, and knowing that if it gets to low a day, that I want to try to anticipate that break. So tape looks pretty heavy. 802 whole number breaks that. I think low a day is going. So I end up going short right there, 3,800 puts, anticipating that break. And then if it starts to speed up, I just want to start piecing out of my position. And moved pretty quick, already about $1.50 in the money, and just want to see how far this can go. Coming into the psychological hole number 800, does it hold or does it break? Feels pretty heavy, gets to 800, very quick reaction. Got a very nice move below 800, so I end up taking 2 contracts off right there because I want to pay myself along the way, and I'm going to leave 1 to see if it can fill that downside gap and maybe even go a little further. Already had a very nice move lower, and now I just want to see, can it get back below that new low a day at 795.56? If it starts to get back towards 800, I don't want to be in a squeeze to the 9 EMA or even the VWAP, so I just need to get out of my last piece. And right there, it looks like it's going to go a little bit higher, and I end up just getting out and making $690 on that trade. And that's it. So that was an overview of my morning routine and the trade recap on NVAX and Tesla. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.